will come to order. If you would rise and give your attention to Councilwoman Deputy Mayor Karen Hiller for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
If everyone could bow their head, we'll have a moment of silence. Thank you.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Christians over at City Hall.
Well, this evening we have two proclamations, and one that is especially very unusual. I'm going to ask our key police come up and Mark Liddell. First has to do with Historic Preservation Week. You're going to come up here and join me. You want to push her up here?
Well, I can walk with my walker.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I didn't bring it.
We'll let you be seated. We'll let you be seated. This is special because we have someone here tonight that relates to the first item on the agenda, which is the historic aspect of historic district. With this evening is Mrs. Betty Nelson, who is the granddaughter of the man who built the houses on Taylor Street in the 1880s. I'm not looking at my notes, so I think that is the 1880s. And just by chance, Betty will be celebrating her 100th birthday next week, next Tuesday. So this is rather unusual that we talk about preservation, national preservation, and here's an example of pretty good preservation. Well, this is the first of your birthday parties, okay?
You're all invited if you want to come. It's over where my daughter is living.
We're all going to be there. We're all going to be at your party. Okay, I have a proclamation here that I'm going to read. Whereas the establishment of the Topeka Town Association in 1854 led to the founding of the city of Topeka, populated by immigrants possessing extraordinary skills in masonry, carpentry, and the forging of metals necessary to build our city. And whereas the sacrifices and perseverance of those builders led to the creation of architectural structures, many of which still exist today and that we now enjoy, and whereas historic preservation is a proven and effective tool for embracing our heritage, managing growth, revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and enhancing quality of life, and whereas today we are honored with the presence of Miss Betty Nelson, the 100-year-old granddaughter of Mr. John Nelson, a Swedish immigrant who settled in Topeka in 1869, who together with his business partner, Sven Johansson, built many residences and businesses that gave life to our city. Now therefore, I, Larry Wolgast, Mayor of the city, do hereby proclaim May 2015 as National Historic Preservation Month and call upon the people of Topeka to join their fellow citizens across the nation in recognizing those craftsmen and builders who laid the first and strong foundations for the city of Topeka, the state of Kansas, and our nation. Congratulations, you are the epitome of preservation. And your grandfather
My mother was married. She was a Nelson. That was her maiden name. My father's name was Betcher. So I am Betty Jane Betcher Nelson. My mom was married when I was born, and I didn't want anybody to have any doubts about that.
Well, I was wondering why your name is Nelson, your grandfather's name is Nelson. Okay, she figured it, she's explained that. She married a Nelson. But also with us here is the chair of the Topeka Landmarks Commission, who oversees the preservation in the community, Mark Bedell. We appreciate your work. We have copies of this, one for you and one for Mark. And actually, the first item on the agenda tonight is going to be an ordinance pertaining to the preservation historic district of the 3 houses that your grandfather built that are still there. And we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have a second preservation, we have a preservation proclamation, and with Walt Whitewanis, please come up. Sorry, no flowers. But in case you see his attire here, this has to do with our Harley group and a very important event coming up in the city of Topeka. Whereas Harley Owners Group of Kansas was established in 1983, and whereas the local Harley Owners Group of Topeka was established to share their passions for motorcycles, make new friends, and support worthy causes, and whereas the Harley Owners Group has throughout its many years provided help for deserving causes locally and internationally with fundraisers in Topeka and across the state, and whereas May 28th to 30th, 2015 celebrates the annual Kansas Harley Owners Group Rally, this year bringing motorcycle enthusiasts to Topeka from around the country to enjoy friendship and riding in scenic Northeast Kansas. Now therefore I, Larry Walgast, Mayor of the City, proclaim May 30th, 2015 as Harley Davidson Day.
I'd just like to say this has been a culmination of a committee that we've been working for probably 2 years to bring the hog rally here to Topeka. We have approximately 400 people from all across the country that will be riding their Harley Davidsons into Topeka and enjoying the scenic rides and historical aspects of Topeka. They're going to spend 3 days here from the 28th, 29th, and 30th. We've worked with Visit Topeka, Capitol Plaza Hotel, Historic Harley Davidson, and also the Kansas Expo Center. And the culmination of it will be the Dwight Yoakam Logan Mize concert at the Expo Center. So if you see a bunch of people with different states on there, it's not a biker gang, it's us.
Please stand. Those are supporting the
committee and also the dealership.
Mr. City Manager, I believe we have a presentation that we would proceed with.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask Mr. Kaufman to step forward, provide the quarterly, first quarter finance report for the city of Topeka.
Momentarily.
believe Mr. Fyander took his presentation down and put his up.
Hey.
There you go. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Tonight we have before you the first quarter preliminary financial report, including in addition to a hard copy that you should have received. This is available online under financial reports at the city. This is our comprehensive quarterly report. It's about 50 pages. Includes a number of information on all the budgeted funds, including project statuses, project reports, and then also an executive summary. When I say preliminary is because nothing's final until it's audited, so the numbers are subject to change until the final audit report comes in. So let me step back real quick. So the tree is there to represent, in order for a tree to produce good fruits, we've got to have strong root system, well watered, just like our financials. If we want to have good financials, we got to have well watered tree or roots that we have growth that are continuing to fund the expenses of the city. So the roots here that we're talking about are kind of the foundations of the report. So this is the basic fundamental financial information. So total revenues for 2015, about $73.3 million, which is about a $6.8 million increase or 10% change from 2014. Total expenditures are up at $50.3 million for 2015, or 6% change for a $2.6 million increase. Major revenues. I have a little caveat here that we also want to talk about. So as part of the budget process last year, we changed a little how we were budgeting. So we moved from kind of a modified accrual type gap accounting that we were budgeting on to what we believe was the correct form of a cash basis type accounting that would follow your checkbook basically type of accounting. So there's going to be some major changes as we progress through the year that they look off. So if you looked up here at sales tax, you could see that it looks like it's up 2.5 million or 22% increase. Part of that is because of the way that we changed reporting. So by the end of the year, by the time we hit the fourth quarter, it'll all wash out. It'll look like we're comparing apples to apples. But for the first, second, and third, it's just going to look a little different. You can also notice that too on the franchise fees. It looks like they're up 90%. So I've got a slide that I adjusted 2014, and we don't want to adjust numbers from prior years just because it leads to could lead to inaccuracies. So just for the presentation tonight, I wanted to get a look at the major revenues. So if you look at ad valorem taxes, there was no change in the ad valorem mill levy rate. So those are up 3% year to date. So that's basically based on collections, which is great news that we're collecting more, but had the same mill levy rate. Sales tax is up about approximately 4%. So an increase of about 500,000. Franchise fees is the other one that looked like it was up 90%. It's actually up about 70% for the year, up 280,000. So part of that, what's that? Oh, sorry, 7%, yeah. So part of that increase is because for the first couple months of the year, we accrue back revenues, so for January and February. So when you looked at the prior side and you saw that up 90% is because for the prior year, those revenues were accrued back. For 2015, we're recognizing them when we received, and then we'll make adjustments at year end for the annual audit. Some major expenditures year to date up 6%, or 2.6 million compared at 50.3 million compared to 47.6 million from the prior year. So what are some of the growth factors? So I'd say we're going to continue with expenditure management and trying to manage the expenditures of the city so that we can continue to see growth in our working capital and also the fund balance of the general fund. In addition to that, with the financial recovery, we had a flat mill levy, which that financial recovery is assisting in that we're collecting more revenues on ad valorem taxes, even though we had a flat mill levy. And then sales tax increases, so 4% is a pretty great indicator of where we're at currently, and we hope to maintain that through the upcoming year. Another factor that is the increased utility rates that were adopted, I think, in last year. So the general fund first quarter results, and you see the beginning cash balance, which is what we're reporting as the unencumbered cash balance. So significant increase from the prior year. So at 7.6 million, which helps. That's why, partly why we received that improved outlook from S&P. So year-to-date revenues over expenditures by 10.3 million. A lot of that is primarily timing of revenues for the general fund. We receive a big chunk of the revenues in the property tax distribution in January. The water fund quarter one results, you can see beginning working capital was also up at 12.3 million for a $3.5 million increase from the prior year. Revenues of 6.7 million compared to expenditures of 8.19 year to date, so a net change of 1.48 million. Wastewater quarter one results, you can see the working capital was also up by about 8.55 million for the wastewater fund. Revenues of 6.14 million year to date compared to expenditures of 6.11 for a net change of approximately $200,000. The stormwater, also the beginning working capital was up by 1.25 million, so we started at 8.16 million this year, with revenues of 1.66 million and expenditures of 1.45 million for a net change increase of 210,000 to the ending balance. So I think we continue to see good financial results by managing the expenditures, and then also with the economic recovery and policy changes that this governing body has made, we continue to see good results.
Thank you. And I certainly want to compliment you on the presentation, the visuals, the color, the tree motif carried throughout on all the pages. I think we're reaching a new level. In spite of what the figures say, it's a beautiful presentation. Are there questions, comments? Councilwoman Ortiz?
Thank you. Was that Mr. Gerber's idea? Because I see you guys laughing when you're talking about the tree and the growth, and I think it was a good idea. I just want to give credit where credit was due.
I think we're just trying to come up with a way to tell a story that's a little bit more interesting than financial. So
Good, excellent.
Also, this is a very comprehensive document. We have every budgeted fund in there. So if you have any questions about this, I'm ready to answer anything that you have. So.
Okay. Councilman Hiller.
Thank you, Mayor. Speaking of watering the trees, a couple questions on the water and sewer funds.
Okay.
In the cases where the working capital grew so substantially, is that because we just didn't spend some of it on projects? We deferred some project work, or is there really net more money coming in to the utility fund last year and into this year?
Councilmember Hiller, I'd probably have to take a little bit more comprehensive look at that. It could be a number of things like the restrictions being back down, or I might defer here to Mr. Gerber too.
I think Mayor, Councilwoman Eller, Mr. Coffin's right. We'd want to take a better look at that. I think we probably at the end of last year deferred or held off on some projects with some uncertainty about the rates, where that was going to go. As you recall, that wasn't adopted until November, and so we were uncertain about where we might be going, and so we're trying to be conservative with what we're doing. I don't think it's fair to say that we've seen an impact from the new rates in these results just yet, but I think second quarter we'll have a better idea of where those are taking us.
I didn't think there would have been. That's why when I looked at those balances growing, yet we had a lot of projects we needed to do. Because correspondingly, if I may, in the water fund, our expenses are up substantially. Is that because we're doing more projects or because the operating expenses have gone up?
Councilmember Hiller, part of that is also the way that we changed with the budgeting.
Okay.
So you're going to see increased expenses because before we were paying, for example, capital projects out of cash, and when we weren't budgeting or reporting those expenses per se. So you're going to see some increases in that fund naturally by the change in the way that we're reporting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you. Thank you for the continued good news. We will then proceed with the roll call.
Mayor Wolgast,
Here.
Councilmember Hiller,
Here.
Councilmember Clear. Here. Councilmember Ortiz. Here. Councilmember Shum.
Here.
Councilmember De La Isla. Here. Councilmember Jensen.
Present.
Councilmember Schwartz.
Here.
Councilmember Cohen.
Here.
And Councilmember Harmon.
Councilman Harmon informed us that he had a personal issue that required his absence this evening. Council members, there are no additions or deletions to the agenda. However, we do have, I believe, 3 executive sessions at the conclusion of the meeting, a couple on tort claims, on labor contracts, so we'll be having those to look forward to. We will proceed with the consent agenda, if the clerk would read.
A is a approval of a workers' compensation settlement for Theda Simmons, police recruit, in the amount of $14,330.67 for the permanent partial impairment of her right knee for injuries suffered on December 9th, 2013. B is minutes of the regular meeting of May 12th, 2015. There is a list of cereal malt beverage and 1 open after midnight license application before you.
Okay, thank you. That is the consent agenda, and your pleasure. Councilwoman De Lisla? Move to approve. De Lisla moves to approve. Councilwoman Schwartz seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 9 yes.
9 having voted yes, the consent agenda is approved. We proceed to the action items, 5A, and ordinance on historic district.
A is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Jim Colson amending the district map referred to and made a part of the zoning ordinances by Section 18-255-060 of the Topeka Municipal Code by amending the district zoning classification from R2 Single Family Dwelling District and R2 HL Single Family Dwelling District Historic Landmark Overlay to R2 HLD Single Family Dwelling District Historic Landmark District Overlay on properties located at 417, 419, and 423 Southwest Taylor Street, City of Topeka, Shawnee County, Kansas.
Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the item that relates to the John Nelson Historic Landmark. I'll ask Mr. Fyander to present on this item and answer any questions.
Okay, Mr. Fyander?
Good evening, thank you. Council members, Mr. Mayor. As you heard earlier, yes, this proposal is our first city local landmark district ever proposed, ever potential adopted. It's located in the 400 block of Southwest Taylor in the Ward Mead neighborhood. There are 3 properties involved, all houses that were built in the 1880s by John Nelson, who was an early developer of Topeka. Many fine hotels and other buildings that are no longer here, he is responsible for. He lived in 2 of these folk Victorian, folk Queen Anne houses. Here's one at 417 Taylor. Then there's the 419 Taylor in the middle of the 3. And then finally, 423 Southwest Taylor. All 3 of these are under one ownership, Deborah Edwards, and she approached the city about putting these in the historic district. The effect of the action tonight is really, again, to protect them. It will be technically it's an overlay zoning on top of the current zoning with a set of design guidelines that will end up protecting any changes to them. Any changes would have to be approved by the Landmarks Commission. So in essence, you're protecting these properties from further changes in the future. So Landmarks Commission, Planning Commission, and staff all recommend approval, and we ask for a motion to adopt the ordinance when you're ready.
Are there questions for Mr. Fyander? Councilman Schwartz?
Thank you, Your Honor. Bill, I've been on the TGT committee for the past couple of years, and historic preservation is one of the issues there. And I would like you to explain to the council, and maybe the new members too, the difference between the National Park Service being who has Brown versus Board, or Board versus Brown, and why we don't have any other entities in Topeka but that one, and how that happens. That, I mean, would we ever have the historic districts managed by the National Park Service?
Sure. Councilmember Schwartz, let me clarify. There are several national historic districts in Topeka. However many, someone's going to tell me. But there are many.
Look this way.
Thank you. 4. Can I add?
That's
four.
That's 3.
So you have one in Potwin, you have 2 in Holiday Park, and College Hill, College Avenue in College Hill. So there's 4 national districts. This is which are managed again or protected by by Landmarks Commission through the National Park Service guidelines. This is a local district. It doesn't reach to the amount of a state or a national character. So the reason this is the first is we haven't had any. We've had individual. We just haven't had a collection of them together. So we actually have over 50 local historic properties. This is the first district. So I hope that clarifies. This is.
Would you want to explain, the State Historical Preservation just approved 3 districts.
Oh, sure.
And just explain what those are, because then they go to the national, the state approves, and then they can also be approved at the national level.
Correct. Your Honor, yes. So in addition to those 4, we have 3 pending before the National Park Service now. All 3 are downtown, the South Kansas Avenue, the Mill District, and also the Church of the Assumption. So those 3 have been nominated by the state to the National Park Service for listing. So we, hopefully by the end of summer or August, we would have 7 national historic districts.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? Discussion, your pleasure? Deputy Mayor Hiar.
Well, with a great deal of honor and pleasure, I would like to move to approve. With that, to give some credit and kudos to Ms. Deborah Edwards, who is sitting in the audience here. I really encourage everyone, we've seen the pictures, but to drive down the 400 block of Taylor. She started by preserving her own home and getting it listed on the register, and has spread out to working on the homes on either side of her home. But she also affirmatively was involved in picking up land across the street when homes were torn down and it was being neglected, and she made sure that was a play yard for kids until such time as the city actually came in and built an infill house there. She has really actively, as many people in central Topeka do, but I think all over town, owned that block and has made a difference by taking care of her own home and reaching out. And I just think that it is so wonderful, and I'm so proud of what she's done and admire it so much. It's been a lot of work. It always is. It's a labor of love for people and history and memories, as well as the houses themselves. And so thank you, Deborah Edwards. And that's it.
Ms. Andela Isla seconds. Council members, this is a zoning issue, so we're really ratifying the approval of the Planning Commission on this. And there is no discussion. We have someone who has signed to speak, but I think it'd be appropriate we will vote, and that will end this procedure, and then we'll give them the opportunity to address us. So with that in mind, no other discussion, all those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 9 yes.
9 having voted yes, the ordinance is approved. And Aaron Edwards, Ms. Edwards requested to speak, so we would like to have you come forward and to the mic there at the podium, then if you wish to address the council.
Thank you. As you said, my name is Dr. Aaron Edwards. Recently finished my PhD. I've spent a good portion of my life in the home my mom had restored, and I'd like to tell you a little story. I was born June 19th, 1977 at 222 Topeka Boulevard. It was another lovely home, one of the great homes along Topeka Boulevard. Many of them have since fallen into disrepair, or in the case of 222, it is no longer with us. My mom loved the old Victorian homes and sought for many years to find one. And in 1989, we moved into the home pictured. When we moved into that neighborhood, it was not the neighborhood it is today. It was a neighborhood with great challenges facing it. And through perseverance, hard work, and dedication, my mom drew a line in the sand and stood her ground and made a difference. And through that, she has earned everything that she's done on her own, through her hard work, labor, and dedication. You know, she was not a wealthy person. This was not, it takes money and time, dedication, and love to maintain and repair and restore an old house such as these. And it has been, I've seen her work on it her whole life and throughout my whole life, and I have great pride in her, and I feel I would not be where I am today without the work she's done, and it's something that we all definitely take pride in. And she has made a tremendous positive difference in the neighborhood. I believe if other citizens would follow that example, that we would have a far better city, a city we could all be proud of. That we can go back in, take back those blighted areas. That's where the greatest homes, the homes of the past, are. They're not necessarily in the nice new developments, but there are gems that are gems nonetheless, and there is still hope to bring them back. And many people speak of historic preservation, and there's not enough people doing enough about historic preservation. And before you is a lady who obviously has succeeded.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. There could not be a better way to celebrate National Preservation Week than to the action that the council has taken this evening, and for what you have done, and on behalf of the city of Topeka, thank you very much. We're very pleased, we're honored, we're proud of what you have accomplished. Thank you. We go to agenda item 5B, a public hearing and ordinance.
B is a public hearing in conjunction with vacation request V15A1 by Unified School District Number 501, requesting the vacation of an alley to allow an addition to Loman Hill Elementary School that will consist of approximately 6,500 square feet of space and house a dual-function gymnasium storm shelter. An ordinance introduced by City Manager Jim Colson relating to the vacation of 17 lineal feet of a 15-foot wide public alley right-of-way lying between Southwest Mulvane Avenue and Southwest Garfield Street, and between Southwest 11th Street and Southwest Munson Street, approximately 230 feet north of Southwest Munson, in the city of Topeka, Shawnee County, Kansas.
Okay, thank you. Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is the vacation of an alley right-of-way. This item is a vacation of an alley right-of-way. I'll ask Mr. Fyander to present and answer any questions.
Mr. Fyander.
Thank you again. USD 501 is proposing to add a combination storm shelter and gym expansion onto Loman Hill Elementary, about 6,500 square feet. In order to do this, they are encroaching into a small portion of the alley at the dead end of that alley you see on the screen. This action tonight would vacate that small portion of the alley. I think it's 17 feet long, and relocate the parking lot across the alley that this gym would be displacing. So there's only really two issues, and they've both been satisfied. One is that they will pay to reroute the sanitary sewer that runs in that portion of the alley, and they'll reroute it around the building. And then number two, they will replace the parking that they're displacing immediately across the alley. It's 10 spaces. They will also provide a public access easement, so there is no technically dead end in the alley, so people can go through their parking lot to reach the street. So the applicant has agreed to both of those conditions that if this is approved tonight, and we ask for a motion to approve at the appropriate time.
Are there questions for Mr. Fyander? Councilman Ortiz?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We have a public hearing on this. As it notes there, state statute requires we have to have a public hearing on any vacation of any property. So at this point, we would declare the public hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to speak at this public hearing? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. I recognize Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you. Bill, I know that we're going through our elementary schools and we're closing them down slowly. Has there been any talk about that, about Loman Hill? Because I know it's all in a plan and we haven't,
Councilmember Ortiz, no, that has not been discussed. In fact, I would think this is kind of proof that they are they're expanding the school, so they're staying.
Okay. I just didn't get to call some people on that, but okay, because I know they're in the works. I just don't know what year. But okay, thank you.
Sure.
Councilman Jensen?
Would you mind terribly zooming that in just a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to make sure, so we're not cutting the back alley out to anybody's house, right?
On top.
Oops, wrong way. Or
Okay, no, because there's plenty of alley for that house. Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you.
welcome.
Other questions? Comments? Your pleasure. Councilman Shum moves to approve. Councilwoman Delisla seconds. Discussion. All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 9 yes.
9 having voted yes, the ordinance is approved. To item 5C, condemnation.
C is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Jim Colson authorizing initiation of condemnation proceedings to acquire fee simple interest of a vacant lot to be used for the rehabilitation of the South Kansas River Pump Station located at I-70 and Southwest McVicker Avenue, project number T-291003.
Councilman, City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item was presented last week as a discussion-only item, specifically pertaining to condemnation of land that we were not able to reach the landowner. Mr. Gerber is available to provide a very brief overview and answer any questions that this body may have.
Okay, so this is really the authorization. It's taking it to the next step. Council members, do you have questions pertaining to this? Not your pleasure. Councilman Jensen?
I would move to approve.
Moves to approve. Councilwoman Hiller seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 9 yes.
9 having voted yes, the ordinance is approved. Item 5D, the resolution on budget priorities.
D is a resolution introduced by Deputy Mayor Karen Hiller regarding the 2016 City of Topeka budget priorities.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that Deputy Mayor Hiller has been working very diligently with Nikki on this, specifically a discussion for this body or actually a resolution to capture the budget priorities. At this point, I'll turn it over to you, Deputy Mayor.
Deputy Mayor.
Well, I think if you all have read through this resolution or even look at it, I guess it's not spelled out on the agenda, but what you have before you is a very slight modification from what was the proposed 2016 priorities. And what I did in consultation with Nikki Lee, the budget director, was simply made a few modifications based on the input from this body at our discussion last week. So continuing the commitment, by the way, for people that wanted priorities, these are in alphabetical order. I guess that's the way the system just sets them up, and that way they are arguably in equal priority, 6 priorities out of a potential of 500 or whatever we might have. So continuing a commitment to developing neighborhoods, that's unchanged from last week. Continuing a commitment to public safety, the same. Improving fiscal sustainability, our proposal last week had a few more qualifiers on that. It seemed that the council was most comfortable with simply saying improving fiscal sustainability. Improving performance and cost effectiveness is unchanged. Investing in infrastructure, unchanged. And then a new number 6, selected strategic investments toward quality of life. Those words were chosen carefully to mean that it would not, that's not a, and we want to just fill up the whole budget with new ideas, but instead that we might make some selected investments toward quality of life as we move forward in that budget. And with that, I would move for approval.
Deputy Mayor Geller has moved approval of the budget priorities. Councilwoman Schwartz seconds. Is there discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 9 yes.
9 having voted yes, the priorities are approved for the budget. Great, we're on our way. Action 5E, setting a hearing date.
E is setting a public hearing date of June 9, 2015 for consideration of imposing special assessments for Lawrence Bay and Sunflower Soccer public improvement projects.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Brandon Kaufman is available to remind this body as to what specifically that is and how it fits into the overall process that we're undertaking here, and answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Kaufman.
Mayor and members of the council, so by the time you reach this point in the process, this is about the 5th step in a series of processes. For some of them that date back to 2007. So basically you're setting a public hearing for 5 improvement projects. 3 of those we discussed thoroughly last week with Lawrence Bay Estates. There's also 2 more for the Sunflower Soccer Association, which was a project that was approved to do the improvements at the Sunflower Soccer Association site for restroom concession stand improvements, road work, and also sewer improvements. So those are part of the 5 projects that you would hold a public hearing on for next month.
And then at that public hearing, there possibly would be, the public would speak and/or discussion by the council members at that time.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Your pleasure. Discussion. Councilwoman Schwartz.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, it's been moved to approve the setting the public hearing date. Councilwoman Del Isla seconds. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 9 yes.
9 having voted yes, the public hearing date is set. Thank you. That completes our action items for tonight. We will proceed with the announcements. There is no council meeting next week as the 4th Tuesday, so there is no preliminary agenda. And we'll go to Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and body. Related to that last item, if you remember last week's conversation, we talked about the need to go back and revisit the city's policy pertaining to the special assessments. That policy from our study was established initially in about 2004 and reaffirmed in 2010, we've seen the risks that are not mitigated on behalf of the city through that policy. We will work towards bringing a new policy forward. What we think is absolutely vital is to talk to the people who are impacted by that policy. And so on Thursday, May 21st, there will be a public meeting with developers about that new special assessment policy. It's from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. We certainly invite this body and will make sure that you have the information on it, but it's at the Holiday Building at 620 Southeast Madison. The concept there is to outline the situation that exists, some of the options that staff would identify at this particular moment, and then ask the developers and others who participate to share their thoughts about what they see going forward. So that is happening this Thursday, May 21st. And then also, the Neighborhood Relations Department is spearheading a house numbering project in the High Crest West area. There's 130 residents that have been identified that have no house numbers. And so they've distributed information, and they're going to start working on installing the house numbers on that.
Okay. And have a request from Mr. Sublette to make comment.
And I would like to ask Mr. Sublette to make some comments. I was going to share my time with him.
Mr. Sublette, would you like to make some comments?
Yes, very briefly, Mayor and body. As you all know, this is my last city council meeting. And I just wanted to say very briefly that it's been an honor to serve this body, to serve the city manager, that I have learned so much in the last 2.5 years from each and every one of you and council members that are no longer here. That I just wanted this opportunity to thank you for allowing me to serve you, and that people leave jobs for a lot of reasons, and this is a great job, and this is a great opportunity of personal family reasons that we're moving to Denver for medical care and medical services. That's one of the reasons we targeted it, and it has nothing to do with this. I just want to say publicly that this is a great opportunity for every attorney, and it's the best job that I've ever had. And to see what this body has done and the city manager has done over the last 2.5 years has been amazing to me. That I joked that when the first 6 months on the job, I felt like every meeting I went to was, okay, where are we going to find this $500,000? Where are we going to find this? And to see based on the financial presentation, the work that everybody has done to get this city to the place that it is today has been amazing. So again, I just wanted to thank everybody for the opportunity. And I know that Topeka is going to do great things. This body and the city manager and his staff will do amazing things in the future. So just thank you.
Chad, you've done admirable. Chad, you've done an admirable job. You have been a very important part of our organization, the city, the council, working, and we have respected you. You've provided excellent leadership, and you will be missed.
Thank you, sir.
We will go to Deputy Mayor.
You absolutely will be missed. And is it really true? I think you said that you would have at least a closet-sized space for those of us who were going to be in Denver and
Sure. Yes.
wanted to see you. Okay.
Yes.
Couple of comments. One, when the council committees were appointed, on that announcement to all of you included the naming of two gentlemen who agreed to be our council chaplains for the year. They are both police department chaplains, Chaplain Stephen Seahorn and Chaplain Maurice Heim. Part of their commitment to us to agree to be our chaplains for the year, really what's most likely is that we would call on them if there were a community-wide emergency, something that we as a council had faced. Although they are available to each and every one of us at any time if we want to seek their support. Again, as part of that commitment so that they know who we are and know what's happening and what we are facing, is that they would periodically attend a council meeting or at least watch. So I wanted to mention that to you around this table and also encourage that as various of you are considering inviting someone for an invocation, one way to get them here would be to invite them when it's your watch to come. And you've got those names in your email, but Angela has them as well, and I do if you need a refresher on who they are. Second, I want to just shout out to NHRA and hope the very best for the race weekend this weekend, for the best of all concerned NHRA and the racers and us here in Topeka and all the businesses that will support those races and the racers. Third, it is Memorial Day weekend, and I wanted to encourage, I think we've all gotten invitations, but Major Don Jacka puts together the massing of the colors every year up at Great Overland Station on Memorial Day. It is an event that lasts from 12:30 to 4, and there are some ceremonial events in the middle of that I really encourage anybody who either wants to go as a council person or to take their families to participate and experience that. It really is a wonderful event to honor our veterans. And last, I wanted to mention in advance, there'll be some publicity that should be breaking on Friday about a planned crime summit for District 1 that is scheduled for June 20th in the heart of District 1 at Topeka High. I want to thank the police department, who is the primary sponsor for that, who's put it together. Department of Neighborhood Relations is helping as well. All residents and businesses in District 1 will be invited to participate for that all-morning event on June 20th. There will be a variety of components and approaches to that. It's been driven by a staff team as well as people who've been participating from all the different neighborhoods in District 1 to look at what might be the best way for us to approach driving crime out of our district as well as building the neighborhoods in our district. So because we thought that it was just for District 1, and people might say, well, how come just District 1 and what's up with that? I agreed to let you know in advance before the publicity came out, just so you knew, and also if people ask, the police department's commitment has been that we asked out of District 1, and they've been wonderful to work with and sponsor it, but they are open to doing the same for other districts, and we'll be kind of the test rat to see how it goes, and you're welcome to copy anything we did. So,
Thank you.
just a heads up.
Councilwoman Claire?
Just want to remind everyone about the concerts in the park, starting June 1st, sponsored by North Topeka on the Move Association. All performances are at 7:30 at the Garfield Gazebo. So go out and listen to the band.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ortiz?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to say good luck to you, Chad. I'm sure you will do well. You've come a long way. I remember when I was deputy mayor, you would look at me to speak at all times, and I'd have to point to the mayor. And so, you know, you kind of got the hang of it, and now you're leaving. That's kind of how it goes. But anyway, on a serious note, good luck to you. Good luck to your family. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Sheldon?
It certainly is Memorial Day weekend coming up. I would like to encourage all of us to thank a service member. So I'll take this opportunity to thank my father for his service, and my grandfather, and those that have gone before and now rest in peace, and just encourage you to do the same on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman De La Isla?
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to say a big thanks to the neighbors of Briarwood. It's been wonderful to see that Nextdoor has been a wonderful tool for everybody in the neighborhood to start talking. It's great to receive from the city information at Nextdoor, and to see that it's prompted our residents in our community to start getting together. There was a meeting, I think, today, and I'm excited to see how our neighborhoods are communicating. On another note, I had the opportunity to attend emergency preparedness meeting yesterday as I left one of the meetings here, and I would like to encourage all of the NIAs to reach out to the city of Topeka. We have an individual, or I think two individuals, that are more than willing to go and speak to NIAs on how to prepare ready kits. They're called gold kits, valued at $10, and they're so important. And as I was sitting through the presentation, not only did I become aware of how unprepared I was in the case of an emergency, but the other big thing that prompted me was I pulled Mr. Green aside and I said, if there was an emergency in the city of Topeka, where do I have to be to serve the city? And we have a lot of new members in our city council, and I'm pretty sure that everybody's head might have gone, oops. And it's not just an emergency of the natural disaster kind, but also something unforeseen, something that calls for our attention. So I would like to take this opportunity to give us all this food for thought. and maybe even request of staff if we could receive a presentation. I know that at this point in time, we're doing budget, so now is not the time. But if we could receive a presentation with regards to the rules and responsibilities of city council in case of an emergency, so that we could start having those policy conversations, because it was just one of those things that you sit down and you start with your level at home and you keep on going as your responsibilities move forward. You think businesses, and then you think our responsibility as council members for the city. So thank you for the great job that we are doing as a city to educate the constituents, and I look forward to the conversations that we have with regards to this matter as a body.
Thank you. Councilman Jensen.
Two quick things. I would like to thank my youngest brother, Kevin, who is in the Navy out there helping build bridges and that sort of thing for them. And a selfish thing, I would like to thank the council for giving me next Tuesday off. That's my birthday.
Happy birthday. Councilwoman Schwartz.
And it's my birthday as well, next Tuesday, so
You're-
two Geminis sitting here. But, and it was Mrs. Nelson's birthday next Tuesday,
That's true.
so we're in
Wow.
good
You
company here.
Got a ways to go.
Got a ways to go to 100.
Gives us something great to look forward to.
Last week I spoke of one of our gems in Topeka, and that is the Mars plant. And so I've challenged myself, we have about, 36 meetings every year, to come up with at least one gem every meeting that we have. And this week I'm going to say that our gem was President Farley's house that we got to see this past 3 or 4 weeks, and it was the designer show house. And the Board of Regents had the interest in getting that on the designer show house. I worked it 2 times, and it's a beautiful home, and it gave everybody the opportunity to see the president's house. And we had, I think, a record number turnout for that. So this week is the Washburn, and they are such a gem. Be safe this weekend. Remember, it's not a barbecue Memorial Day. It's a Memorial Day to remember our fallen soldiers. And today I met with Brett Odig, who is the new Visit Topeka, and I learned a lot of good information. He's already given us facts and figures that we hadn't gotten before. So I think Visit Topeka is in really good hands. And I look forward, he'll be at tomorrow morning's meeting, which we're having bright and early with the Transient Guest Tax Committee. So that's at 8:30. So if anyone is interested in learning more about tourism, come to our meetings. So thank you.
You could also challenge us to eat more M&Ms.
They're coming out, I think, with some sugar-free, so.
That challenge is accepted.
Councilman Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have a new CVS pharmacy at 21st and Gage. So go pick up your pharmaceuticals there. And on my way to council tonight, I saw that the carnival is in town. They're setting up now. They'll start this weekend and run all next week. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. That completes our announcements. We have no person signed for public comment. So the next item on the agenda is executive session. If the city attorney would provide the parameters for our first session.
Thank you, Mayor. I would request to go into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss labor negotiations. As part of that, I would ask the elected officials, Lieutenant Colonel Desch, Major Conklin, Nikki Lee, Catherine Walter, Shelley Starr, the city manager, myself, Deputy City Attorney Mary Feeney, Doug Gerber, and Jackie Russell.
There is such a motion. Councilwoman Ortiz moves and Councilwoman Delisla seconds. Discussion. All those in favor vote yes. Opposed vote no. I vote yes. 15 minutes.
And 9 yes.
9 having voted yes. The few who weren't named to stay have to leave. Everybody else stays.